Hello my fellow traders and welcome to a new week of trading. Now this is or will be, I think, a bit of an eventless week, at least compared to the last couple of weeks where we have been looking for interest rates and the big non-farm payrolls numbers last week and so on. All the market have been focusing on them, but this week is a bit more thin on the news side. First of all, today's market in Canada and United States is closed because of Labor Day, and that tends to give a bit of a calm to the market, both on the currency side but also on the stock trading side, so if you're into that. So my guess is that today will be kind of a strange non-moving day, but of course I can't be surprised on that part. So that is for today, Monday. I don't suspect much happening there. Then we get into Tuesday here. We're getting a bit from China. The thing here is that Australia is getting their interest rate decision here on Tuesday. That might be able to move the Aussie a bit, but I don't think so. And as the analysts are saying here, the consensus is they'll keep it on the 0.1%. So yes, I think they'll do that. We are getting a bit on the unemployment rate from Switzerland, but again, I don't think that will move a whole bunch in the market. Then we have also Tuesday, something that might be able to move the euro a bit, and that is the GDP growth and the unemployment change, both quarter to quarter and year to year here. And as you can see, it is expected to be somewhat better numbers. If they surprise in a negative way, like for instance we saw the non-farm payrolls in the United States, then that can definitely drag the euro a bit downwards. But let's see how that pans out Tuesday. When we move on, we get to Wednesday here, and we're getting some Japan numbers here, again from GDP growth, which is suspected to go to the positive side here. Let's hope that. But what else do we have? We have some CAD here. I don't think that will move a lot. Then Thursday, of course, we get the inflation rate from China, and it's not like we're trading or at least I'm not trading the Chinese currency. However, many people tend to look at China as a kind of a bit of a guide to what can we expect from United States. And well, the consensus is that the inflation rate will be on 1% there. How they can honestly think that the inflation is only 1% in China when they have a financial growth of 5 to 7%, and they came out of the COVID crisis a lot earlier than Europe and United States, that is a bit puzzling to me. 1%, I simply don't see where they pull that out from. But that is the numbers we're getting. So there might be a bit of a look to that as well. We're getting a bit on the euro, nothing big here. And then of course there is the initial jobless claims. Now with the NFP numbers that we saw last Friday, a big weight was lifted off the shoulders of the Fed, because Powell had been in his speech the other day at the Jackson Hole. He was indicating that they might start their tapering of their bond purchases now this autumn and maybe up towards New Year. Now the thing is that with the non-farm payrolls numbers that got out Friday, that was a lot worse than expected. They are kind of off the hook, you could say, Fed. I don't expect them to hurry up with the tapering now, because they can always say that, yeah, well, the economy is not going so great, so let's just give it a bit more boost before we really start the tapering. And I think they'll do that. And if we get some worse than expected initial jobless claims, that will just be more fire on that campfire here. So I think that we will see less tapering, which of course will push the dollar down. The main rule is that when there's less activity in a country, there's less inflation, meaning that there's less pressure upwards to the upward side on the interest rates. And when the interest rate is lower than expected in a country, you also see a drop in currency. But let's have a look at the charts just in a second. Let's see if we get some more interesting. Yes, there are some pound sterling thing here at the end of the week. they might be able to move a bit on the sterling side, but let's have a look at that. Again, this is kind of a non-event week. There are something for the specific countries. You can see there are the unemployment rates and so on for Canada on the 10th here that I'll be looking out for, but it's nothing that can really move the entire market like the non-farm payrolls. We saw that both moves the gold and oil and everything, but let's have a look at what we can expect this week. First of all, when we are looking at these Forex indices here, as you know, when you're looking them up, they are often ending with, or they are ending with XY, so JXY is the Japanese yen here and so on. We see that the Japanese yen is both, we have the weekly, daily, 4-hour and 1-hour chart here, and the Japanese yen is kind of stuck in this range here on a daily chart. It's not easy to say which direction it'll move, but there's not much movement here. As you can see, yeah, it can move up and down. It's nothing I'll take some major positions in when I can't see a more clear direction. Then of course we have what I would say the most interesting thing, and that is the dollar index. And as you can see, it dropped Friday here. It came a bit back up, but it dropped Friday when we saw the NFP numbers from United States. It is bouncing up from this. If we're just enlarging this, we can see here that it actually respected the daily area here pretty well. It was sent down, and then we met this support area down here, and we might be seeing an upwards movement from this. I actually have a potential trade I have been looking on, I'll show you in a second, in the Aussie dollar as a long position. But I'm a bit wary of taking it, because if the dollar is pushing upwards from this, I'm not interested in being long the Aussie dollar, meaning that I'm actually short the dollar. So having a potential strong dollar here might destroy that setup before I even take it. So let's have a look at that in a second. We have the pound index here. As you can see, I'm mostly looking on the daily time frame here, and the pound is or have been shooting upwards. As you might remember, I'm actually short in a pound Aussie, and that is a bit of a problem if it keeps shooting up here, especially when we look at the Aussie, if that goes in the opposite direction as well. We can see here that the only reason why my pound Aussie short has actually been doing well is that it is okay that the pound has been going up, but the Aussie have been going up even faster, and that is on a tear right now. It was on a downturn here due to the oil being pushed down. You know that the Aussie and the New Zealand dollar and the Canadian dollar are the primarily commodity currencies, or they used to be. There have been a bit of change here, but they are still kind of correlated, or quite a lot correlated to the oil and coal prices, gas prices and so on. But oil is the one that we normally look at, and the Australian dollar is shooting upwards, and as long as it is shooting up at a speed like this, it will definitely keep my pound Aussie in the green. But if it starts to turn around, I will just exit the trade. I have my stop loss in a nice profit by now. Then we have the New Zealand dollar also going upwards here. We have the Canadian dollar, but as you can see, they are kind of starting to make these pin bars here, and I'm not too happy about that. I'll show you that as in a second on my spaghetti chart, as I call it. We have the euro here. The euro have also been in a very nice uptrend, but if we're looking at the euro chart here, it was dropping. It was caught in a sideways range here. It came in with a double bottom here, went up, but now we're starting to see this pin bar, and we could actually also draw one here from this top. I'm normally looking not as much on the diagonal lines here on the daily chart, but more on these lines that are just support and resistance. And right now it does seem like the euro might be pushed down a bit. Let's see how the Monday turns out here. We have the Swiss caught in a range, not certain where that is moving, so I'll probably not be taking anything on this. All right. when we're looking at the what I call the spaghetti chart here, we see all of the different currencies in relative strength to each other. As you can see, we have the New Zealand dollar up here. That is let's just have the right drawing tool. This one here is the New Zealand dollar. Then we have the Australian dollar, and the purple down here is the Canadian dollar. So you can see the Canadian dollar have been lacking after the two others. They have been on a complete tear, but it is as though both the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar is starting to turn a bit down here. You can also see on the 4-hour time frame they have turned down. They can easily start turning up again, but they are at a very high level here, and they might be starting to turn down. Now, what can we expect down here? I know it can be a bit hard to see the different colors here, but what we are seeing here is actually the pound. So me being short the pound Aussie, as you can see, it might be a bit of a stretch right now, but again, I have my stop loss and I'm ready to jump ship if anything happens. Down here we have the red one, that is the Japanese yen. We have the Swiss franc here, and we have the US dollar. And these are, all three of them is kind of the safe haven currencies, and they are at an extremely low level right now. On a 4-hour time frame, you can see that they have started to push upwards. So if we see this, you could also see some correlation towards the stock market. If we all of a sudden see these three turning upwards, that might be a sign that some nervousness is getting into the market. And yes, I'll keep track on that, and I urge you to not just jump into long commodity currency trades simply because they're going up, because we are at a point right now where we might be turning. But it is a bit of a decisive week, this one. We are balancing a bit on an edge. So if this one starts to turn down, the commodity currencies here, I suspect that we'll see both the dollar, the yen, and the Swiss franc starting to move upwards. So that is the basis of that. We can also see down here that have been short in the yen. You can see the reds here, having been short in the dollar and having been short in the Swiss franc, have been absolutely a party. Whereas the Aussie, the Canadian here lately, and then the New Zealand dollar have been in green movement for a very long time. So that tends not to keep going forever. I suspect that we might sometimes this week actually see a change in these major trends. Now, as for specific trades, as you can see, here is my short pound Aussie trade. And I took that the other day. I don't know how much you have been following me, but I am basically what is called a structure trader, a market structure trader. So I saw the breakdown here in the pound Aussie on the weekly chart. You can also see here we got a very nice turning signal in the pound Aussie up here on the daily time frame. It went down. I was actually in a short trade in this area here as well, but exited down here due to this very strong trend line on a weekly chart. Now it just kept going, and when we shot down through here, there was a retracement upwards, and as you can see on a daily time frame, I took it. You can see it broke structure here, came back up, and I took it here at 186.70, something like that. And it has been a bit wobbly. Then it went down, and with the non-farm payrolls here, it got a very good spike down. But right now it is again a bit not so certain in its movement. And as you can saw in the earlier charts, if the pound is starting to gain strength and the Australian dollar is starting to losing it, well, then I am on the wrong side of this trade. And the blue line here is where I have put my stop loss for now on the on my trading panel, of course, not here in my analysis chart. And if it shoots up here, and I think it just might, then I'm of course out. Now, I never trade on what I think, so I never exit a trade like this because I think something might happen in the future. Since I'm not a fortune teller, I simply follow my charts, and as long as the trend is down and we're not breaking structure here on a 1 hour time frame, then that is fine for me. But I would like to see it come down and break this bottom here somewhere today or tomorrow if I should really keep believing in this trade. But let's see how it turns out. Now I can show you the trade that I had in mind actually when I just shuffled through my charts this morning, but I am not completely certain, and that is due to this Australian dollar topping off and the dollar that might be gaining some strength. Because what I saw here was the Australian dollar that breaks up here. So we have broken the downwards trend, no doubt about that. On a daily time frame, you can also see that this breaking the channel also broke some very important structure. We have broken this structure, so we are definitely in an uptrend on the Aussie dollar right now. There's no doubt about that. The question is, can it hold? And if you see here on a 4-hour time frame, you can see that the waves here have just been absolutely great. We have an up wave, push down, push up. So every time, almost every time, it is breaking structure here. And what I am expecting if I were to take this trade is of course a push upwards from here, and I would look at that on the 1-hour time frame here. We might be looking for some support here, but before I would really be keen on taking this trade, I would like to see a push up, then a drop back to this support area here, and then some strength shown. Then I will be more than happy to take this trade. I would be taking it with a somewhat up here, a stop down here, and hopefully a 2 to 1 or something like that at least before I hit some resistance. But as I said, right now both the dollar and the Australian dollar is kind of balancing on maybe turning in the other direction, and that is extremely important that you not just jump into trades where you think, yes, this is a good setup. You need to see if the overall relative strength of the currencies are shifting. And I think we can get a good picture of that either today or tomorrow. I'm actually getting another potential trend that is going in the other direction, and I'm a bit more keen on that one when we see the potential movement in the Australian dollar. And as you can see, the Euro Aussie here is still on a very good uptrend. It has of course dropped down due to the strength of the Australian dollar, but if this Australian dollar is starting to lose some steam, we can try and have a look here at the daily time frame. And you can see we are meeting some very good resistance down here, and it seems like it is starting to top off. If we're looking over here, what is the euro doing? Well, it is in the positive zone, so we can buy it. It has been red for a couple of days as where the strength had been going down, but as you can see right now, this brown orange line here is moving upwards. That is the overall euro strength towards the other currencies. And we also see here that the last 3-4 hour time periods have been positive, so that might be something along with the Aussie that might be losing some steam here. So looking at the euro dollar here, there might be some basis for a setup. And again, if I were to trade this euro Aussie here, I would definitely have a look at this one and say, oh yes, it is finding support, but I do want to see some break of structure. So I would like to see something like this on a 4-hour time frame, and that might take the entire week to form that, or at least a couple of days. So patience is key here. When we're looking at the 1-hour time frame, we can see here also the trend is, the structure is pointing downwards right now. We are finding a double bottom here, but again, unless we see some really strong push upwards with break of this structure, maybe finding some support here could make me take this trade, or at least coming up here, finding it here. It happens all the time. When we look back here, you can see that price is respecting structure. We can see this one here it came up, it didn't even come all the way up, and it was sent back here. We can see structure here. That was actually also a very nice short euro Aussie trade we could have taken here with some very good pips to be earned. So I am looking at structure, and right now I'm not trying to guess where the bottom is. This can be a bottomless pit that just keeps going down. So I am waiting to see that the big players in the market are really pushing upwards. So there are some interesting trade possibilities here, and I will of course keep track of that during the week. And let's see where the market takes us. But as I said, there might be a shift in the market in this week with some commodity currencies turning down. It is not completely certain that happens, and it will turn up during today and tomorrow if some real shift is happening. Alright, I hope this was inspirational for you and gave you some good thought as to what to be able to trade in the upcoming week. Have a good trading week out there and take care of yourself and your money. I'll talk to you again shortly. Bye.